Welcome to Dandelion Cottage. Today is Paper Crafting Saturday, and I'm Leslie Watkins. There we go. I hope you're well. I've got a really cute project to make for you today. It's a double explosion box, and this is it. So it's a cute little size, and it's got a surprise inside. And if you remember, on Wednesday, I painted this loose watercolor design, and I'm going to use this to decorate the box with. I also, after I finished filming, I also did a little piece. So I've got two pieces of watercolor paper with design on it. So let me turn you down and we'll get started. So here's the first pattern that I did Wednesday. And then I did this second one, a little bit smaller, and this is on the, actually these are both the same paper. This is the hot press watercolor paper. Okay, so this is, we'll get to this in a bit. This is our decoration. And I'm going to be using Magenta Madness. And I've also got some Gorgeous Grape, and I've got some Old Olive. So I'll show you what those all look like together. This is our color palette. Okay, and I like the way the Gorgeous Grape helps to make that design really come out. And I thought that the Magenta Madness, which is one of the new in colors, looked really nice, and so that's going to be the bottom of our box. So the way this box works is kind of interesting. I saw a video by Stamps and Lingers, Mary Dethridge, and she had done an adorable box with the underwater theme. And I just made a few little changes to it because if you know me, you know I like really sturdy boxes, so I made the lid reinforced. And then I made a slight alteration to the configuration of the bottom to make it a little bit stronger too. So the measurements, let's get my ruler. The box is 4 inches by 2 inches and 2 inches deep. So it's a good sized box. You could fit quite a bit of stuff in there. Let me see. Not quite, maybe at an angle. But I'm sure we'll come up with some ideas to put in there. When you take the lid off, you have this cute little two-sided area to create art on, and then the whole thing opens up and unfolds to lie flat. It's big enough to fit 2 Ferrero Rochers, which is very nice. And I'm going to be decorating both the inside and the outside. And then all you do is you just tuck these 2 flaps in and tuck these in. Bring up the sides, and your lid holds it all together. So that's the premise. Let's get started. I'm going to leave this above me here so I don't forget anything. You'll need your trimmer, and you'll need a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock, also a piece of 8.5 by 11. So So all I'm going to do is cut this in half at 6. And because this is going to be the bottom of the box, I'm also going to remove a smidge. And a smidge is what I call about a 1/16 of an inch. And you're going to do that on 2 sides. So 2 smidges removed. Because after we remove the smidges, we're going to scotch it. All right, now that you've done that, get your cutting blade out of the way, and you're going to score it at 2 inches on all sides. And then on the long sides, you're going to score it once again at 4. Switch it around. And 4. So that's all the scoring. Now using your snips, you're just going to cut up to that score line. And you're going to do that on both sides. And then flip it over so that the bump side is up. Okay, we're going to fold into the bump like that. Give it a good burnish. And then the way this folds up is that these 2 outer flaps go in, then the next ones, and then the sides come up. So you get a very nice, neat, sturdy little box. All right, but now we want it before, well, I think let's go ahead and make the lid while we're at it. Okay. So I'm going to be using the Gorgeous Grape for the lid. And this measures 6 by 8. So I'm going to cut it at 6. And then remove 1/2 inch to make 8. And on this one, we're going to score it at at 1 and at 2. And we're going to do that on all 4 sides. So it's really hot and humid here in New England, but I've seen the forecast for the southern southwest states, and oh my, you poor people. I hope you have a nice cool basement to go into. I'm not even sure if the houses out there have basements, but it's going to be miserable over the weekend. I don't do well in the heat. I definitely prefer the cooler weather. Okay, now on the short side, we're going to make 2 cuts. Just like that. In each corner, and then flip it around. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wedge at a slight angle these tabs just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the side, except that here we're going to cut this one off and then wedge these as well. All right, so your corner is going to look like that. And I'll give you a better look at this after I get it done. So a little wedge there. Remove this square. Okay, so that is our shape. Like so. And again, we're going to score all of these, or I mean burnish all of these score lines. But before we assemble it, we're going to be doing a little bit of decorating. I think it's easier to decorate before gluing it together. So there we go. There's that. So we've got our pieces here. And the next thing I want to do I'm going to be using this piece in here on the inside of the box. So I'm going to cut this up into pieces. So I want a little bit of that border showing of the Magenta Madness. Where's my ruler? So these are 2-inch squares. So I'm going to cut this into pieces that measure 1 3/4. Or actually, maybe we'll go 1 7/8. And then I'm going to keep them in order because I want the picture to come together. So 1 7/8. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. All right, we're going to change this up a little bit. Let me see. I cut that in half. So I'm gonna make a slight change here. And I'm going to cut this at 2 1/4. No, two and let's see how this comes out. Thinking. 2 1/4. Can you hear me thinking out loud? Why isn't this working? Oh, because it's exactly right already. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. So we're going to leave that like that, and I'm going to just bring this one over here like so. Okay. So let's cut this at 1 7/8 here. One 7/8 here. This one's a little bit short. So I think, so that little scrap of paper I had left over was not the exact size that I needed to do this. So I'm going to have to do a little improv here. And that's why I made plenty of paper to use for this project. But I'm going to save these pieces because these will be great for the tag. Okay, now going to my bigger piece of paper, I'm just going to trim off the edge so I have a nice straight edge. I'm going to save this. And I'm going to cut this at 1 7/8 here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to see how I like this to be here. I think that looks nice. Okay. Trim this down. I have a very small area to work with here under the camera, so I have to make sure I stay within view. So there's one. Now this one is going to be 2. Let me just measure that again. Okay. Measure twice, cut once. and then 1 7/8. Okay, so there are our pieces. Now let's put them together. It's like a puzzle. Here we go. All right, so I'm just going to glue those down. The garden right now is sort of betwixt and between. That's a little bit long. I'm going to trim that edge off a little bit while I can. The poppies have gone by, but the helianthus is going strong. The daylilies are just starting to come out. The nepeta is sort of on its way out, as is the alchemia. But I've got a lot of fruit getting ready to ripen, so I've got all kinds of berries, black currants, strawberries, raspberries. The mulberry tree has fruit all over it, so it's bringing in a lot of birds. And the amelanchiers had fruit on them, but the cedar waxwings flew in and took most of that away. And the weeds, oh boy, that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend, is lots of weeding and pruning. Now that my shrubs and trees are getting bigger, now I have to start editing out the extra branches that are drooping down and banging people in the head. So I like that job. That's my job, is the pruning. Okay, now let me just make sure I've got this the way I want it. It looks good. I'm thinking I'm going to trim the edges just a little bit of some of these sides, just so that it folds together a little easier. I'll show you that in just a minute. Now also on the inside of your box here, you could put a sentiment, or I was thinking about maybe even putting a 3D surprise, but I didn't want to get too complicated here for our quick videos, so I'm keeping it simple and hopefully providing you with plenty of inspiration to take it to the next level. I'm running out of this glue as well. Okay. I'll give that a nice burnish. Spread that glue so it's nice and even so you don't get any bumps. Now, what I'm looking to trim here is that I can see a little bit where the bump from the score line is, and I'm going to trim that off just to give it a nice flat edge and also to remove some of the bulk. And I'm just doing this on these outer ones because these are the ones that fold in. That looks pretty good. This needs to go. I'm just neatening up a little bit. Okay. Now I think that's really pretty, so that when somebody opens up your box as a surprise, they get this beautiful burst of color. And then this is all going to go back together again like this and like this. Okay. All right, let's get to our lid. And I'm just going to lay this aside flat to dry. Now with our lid, I'm going to use, where is it? Here it is. I'm going to use the new seal just on these little corner tabs. And this is actually the Seal Plus, so this is the stronger of the two. And then I'm just going to tuck that in so that I make a nice even corner. I'm going to go around to all four sides. There we go. And then I'm going to put the liquid glue on these flaps. Trying to get every last bit of glue out of here. And I'm using my bone folder again to distribute that glue. I'm just going to do this a few times until it starts to set. And hopefully we'll have enough glue to go all around here. Try that other one. There we go. right, so now I'm just going all the way around. There we go. All right, now let's make sure everything fits together nicely. This kind of box, because the sides and the corners are not glued together, is very forgiving. So if you are slightly off, you can always trim a little bit off, but that fits perfectly. And that's because of that scotch and smidge that we removed from the bottom of the box. So remember, when you're doing your box bottoms, scotch them over a tiny bit and remove a smidge, and that should be enough to allow for the lid to fit nicely on the top of it. All right, so now I just want to do a little more decoration. So here, I think what I want to do, and let's just take a look. I'm thinking about adding a little green border, and I do like that. So I'm going to cut a piece from here. So I said that this was 2 inches by 4 inches. So I'm going to cut this at 1 7/8 by 3 7/8. So I've just 1/8 of an inch showing on the sides there. And now I get to select what I want for the lid. So I'm kind of looking at this area over here. I don't want a lot of white. I want color. So I may have to trim in here a little bit. So let's see. I'm going to cut this. First, I think let me just neaten up these edges so I have a nice crisp edge to measure from. One more. Okay, a little bit more on that one. Okay. All right, where was that spot? This spot over here. Okay, so that was there. So I'm going to call this 1 1/4. Put it in this way. And 3 1/4. Let's glue that down. Yeah, I like that. I like that little, just that nice little mat around the edges. I think really finishes that nicely. Okay, give that a good burnish. did say I was going to decorate this before I assembled the lid, and I forgot, but that's okay because we're not going to, I'm not doing the sides, it's just the lid, so it's not a big deal. Let me get a block. I'm just using this tiny block to give that a nice smooth finish. Okay. All right, so those are the basics, and now really the rest is embellishing. So here's the basic box, and I just think that's as cute as can be. And it's very hefty. There's a lot of paper in here. Okay, but what I think I would like to do is I want to add a decoration across the top here. And for that, I'm going to use a couple of mats using the Gorgeous Grape, but I'm going to do something a little different this time. I'm only going to leave a border on 3 sides. I want the 2 sides to meet together flush. So this is going to be the same as here. So let's do this at 3. Let's do it this way first. So 1 7/8 by 3 7/8, and then I've got this pretty piece, which is already, let's just check that. That looks good. And I think what I'll do here is I'll just use my pencil line to mark that. It would be nice if I had some of the some ribbon in Gorgeous Grape, but so far as I know, we don't have any ribbon in that color right now. So there we go. Now I'm going to cut this in half. So this is where you're. So oftentimes when I'm measuring and I'm doing very precise work, I'll switch between imperial and decimal. So this is where your millimeters really are helpful. So if I cut this at 5, I think it's going to be perfect. So let's see. Because it's a lot easier to measure half of 10 than it is half of 3 7/8. And that's perfect. Actually, it's a tiny bit bigger on this side. I'm going to just trim this a teensy bit. Another smidge. There we go. All right. So now I want this one on this side and this one on that side, so I'm just going to flip it like that. And I'm going to line this square up with the edge of the cardstock. Get that right in the middle. And then the same thing for this one. There we go. Some glue on there. All right. Quick burnish. And let's see what that looks like. Outer flaps in. Next. And next. I like that. Okay. So now there are lots of alternatives that you could do with something like this. Let me just clear the deck here a bit. Lots of stuff. Okay. So you can put designer series paper on the sides of your box. If I had the that little 6x6 in color paper, we could see what that would look like on the sides, or not. I kind of like the idea of keeping it kind of low-key on the outside so that they don't know what's coming on the inside. Unfortunately, I only have one of these right now, but you get the idea. And then on the lid, you can place your label or decorate it or put some ribbon around. Unfortunately, I don't have the Magenta Madness ribbon that's on back order right now, so I don't want to use a ribbon that doesn't match it just the way I'd like it to. So I'm going to hold off on that for now. But in the meantime, let's look at some of the scraps we have left over here. So this is a very pretty piece. I think what I want to do with that is make a tag. So very quickly, I'm going to grab my gorgeous grape and my old olive scraps here. And let's see what this measures. That's about 5 inches, so that's fine. I'm going to cut this at 2. And then I'll take my green scrap. Oh, that's already. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's good. Okay, so let's just trim this down. Before I do that, let me get my scallop tag topper punch. Get that in there. So there's my cute top. Now let's see what this is going to measure. I'd say 4 1/8 1/8. Oops. Here we go. I flipped that too hard. I popped that out of its runner. Okay, there we go. And then this, oh, you know what? This is a little bit short, so let's, instead of 4 1/8, let's make this 3 7, 3, no, 4. Let's try 4. Let's see how 4 looks. It's a little oddball. Tiny bit more. Okay, that'll do it. So, once again, this is a perfect example of why you should hang on to all of your watercolor practice. So, the time that you spend practicing is going to help you gain a better understanding of watercolor and develop your skills. And don't worry about the paper and the paint going to waste. It doesn't go to waste. You can use all these scraps to make these beautiful little tags, bookmarks, boxes, you name it. So I'm going to hold off on the ribbon here until I find some Magenta Madness ribbon. But there you go. And what I would do is I would actually take the other side and I'll show you. I've got a little scrap here. This is very vanilla. Well, you know what? Let's see which I like better. So here's the white. Here's the very vanilla. I think I'm going to go with my first inclination, which is the very vanilla. So, so on the back here, we can make this 1 3/4 by 4, which will give us plenty of room to write on. And I would just put a little area on the back that you could write or you could stamp. You could stamp your message if you'd like. If you wanted to put a big thank you back there, that would be very pretty. Or happy birthday. There you go. Straighten that up a little bit. Okay, so there's our cute box for today. I hope you like it. I hope you are inspired to do one of these. I'd love to see how you decorate it. Really, the sky is the limit. What's so nice about this style of box is, well, first of all, it feels really good. I mean, just on its own, it just feels really nice. but you have the area here to put a cute little sentiment or a greeting if you like, and then the whole thing opens up into this nice surprise with your gift. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for joining me today. Stay cool. I hope you're in a nice air-conditioned place, or maybe in a lake taking a quick dip. Maybe I could do that later today. So I'll be back on Marvelous Monday. Here's my website, dandelioncottagedesign.com. I have a beginning watercolor class that's just about to start this month, which is a great opportunity for someone who hasn't watercolored before, or has tried a little bit and felt a little discouraged, you didn't know what to do. I'm going to help get you started on the right foot. So it's a very important class, and if you're an accomplished watercolor painter, you may pick up a few tips as well. So please join me. The way you do that is to subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage, and you can do that on that website, which you see on the screen there, dandelioncottagedesign.com. So go to subscribe to Notes, and I will see you on Monday for Marvelous Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay well and stay creative. That's all for now.